Welcome back to the Morgan Thomas Show with my co-host Big Al, Alan Adams. Segment number 3, let's get into it, starting with the Clemson review. And that was Clemson just destroying a team that really barely has any players left. And like Mark Packer said over on at Packer and Durham, it's a good thing that Clemson had a road game because they only brought 75 players. Well, actually, he said it was a bad thing that it was a road game because they only brought 75. So thankfully, that Clemson only played some of their 75 best. But maybe if it was a home game for Clemson, they would have played maybe their 115 players, and NC State wouldn't have had to play their 75 best players. But so it was kind of a joke there. But yeah, Clemson definitely handled NC State. And people, man, the media just cannot give Clemson a break. It is like they win a game by 1 point, and it's, why can't you win a game by more than that? Everybody else is winning a game by more than that. They win a game. They win 3 games in a row by 50, and everybody's like, oh, Dabo, why in the world are you running it up on everybody? How dare you? You're supposed to be a Christian. What's your problem? And that's just ridiculous, man. Clemson gets the worst double standards of any team I've ever seen, and it's just driving me nuts. Now, as Clemson fans, what does everybody tell us? Oh, Clemson doesn't need to worry about the rankings. Clemson fans need to just get over it. They're not disrespected. They just need to win out. You can still need to win out and be disrespected.
Sure.
That's my point. You can still be in your position and be in control of your own destiny and complain about being disrespected. Everybody acts like we can't have it both ways. We can have it both ways because it is that way.
Sure.
All right, I'm off my soapbox again. But again, going back to last week, Al, the helmet stickers are the best offense and best defensive player or players or performance or Alan, I don't even know how you describe it, but it's not just a player and stats. So Who do you got?
Well, for offense, I have Trevor Lawrence. I mean, goodness gracious, the guy has been on fire lately. He went 20 for 27, 276 yards, 3 touchdowns, and most importantly, no interceptions. Okay, he's kind of got a bad rap for his interceptions early in the year, several games into the year, in fact. But he's been doing much better lately, seeing the field better, making better decisions. He also added 8 rushes for 59 yards, so he definitely got a helmet sticker for me. Awesome performance. We need to see more of the same going forward.
Now, when you texted me this, I was baffled. I was like, you text me first so you could get in your picks first. I get it.
That's right.
I get it. I like that. I admired that. But you didn't pick Travis Etienne? I was like, why?
I've already picked him too much. I wanted to let you have a shot at him.
Okay, that starts to make sense to me because Travis Etienne now has a total of 500, a total of 54 touchdowns, which is a school record, by the way. He now has 50 rushing touchdowns, ties Lamar Jackson for rushing touchdowns. Hey, kind of a good player, right?
Yeah.
He's 2 away from tying James Conner, another really good player from Pittsburgh, for 52 touchdowns. That's the ACC record for touchdowns. I want to see Travis Etienne break the ACC record. I know he will. He's got 2 games left. He should. He only needs 3 touchdowns. I think he's going to get it.
Sure.
But let's break the record. Let's break the record, Travis. We love you. We want to see more of you. We want to see that ball in the end zone with number 9 on the jersey. So I want to see a Clemson running back leading the way in the ACC all-time record, and that's going to be you, Travis. And we've just enjoyed watching Travis Etienne grow up these past 3 years from a little old 3-star, little old 3.5 or 2.5 star out of Jennings to now preseason Heisman candidate, and eventually, we believe, I'm pulling for him to be the all-time ACC rushing touchdown leader. But I got Travis Etienne. I mean, he did awesome. So I have to say that. Well, who do you got on defense?
Yeah. I actually took Logan Rudolph on defense. I don't think anybody in particular really stood out to me on defense. They all did pretty well. All had a good game, obviously. He had 1 sack and a tackle for loss. The announcers were even showing him some love, when they talked about how Brent Venables loves his motor. It's a guy we've been hearing about for the last couple of preseasons about how this guy has a nonstop motor. He doesn't have quite the measurables that Clemson really looks for in a defensive end. They usually like the long, lean type of frame, and that's not really him. He's a little bit on the shorter side, a little stockier. But it's really good to see some on-field production from this kid. We've been hearing about it, but he hasn't really shown up in games too much, but he's starting to turn on a little bit, and I'm hoping that continues.
Yeah, I actually fell into that problem of I could not pick one player. I mean, you've got a lot of players just doing awesome on the defense. So many different different turnovers in the game. I believe Tyler Davis got one. Chad Smith got one. Who else got a fumble? What was his name? Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, I saw that. I'm like, who's that?
For the special teams.
Yeah.
So a lot of players got in and got their fumble recovery on the game. So I was really impressed by that. So I'm going with the entire Tiger defense. That was another game that they held a team to under 300 yards. This is what Dan was asking us before. Dan Mayover earlier on the YouTube channel was saying, what do we think? Are they going to continue that? It's going to be tough against Wake Forest for sure. We'll get into that a little bit further. But at least for now, let's enjoy another game. Wolfpack finished with 290 yards, 10th game this year for 300 yards or less. And so that's my Tiger helmet sticker for the defense, the entire defense. I'm going to need a lot of stickers for that. As far as our best player of the other team, the $2 bill, that's what we give for the best player of the other team. And I'm going to go with Zonovan Knight. He actually is a true freshman, running back, 12 carries, 139 yards. The longest was a 53-yarder, a little bit later in the game, I believe. But true freshman, and he had his best game of the year against Clemson, 20 yards more than his previous game high. So good job there, Zonovan Knight. I believe he did have one touchdown as well. So got that score in for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, Zonovan Knight took that 53-yarder to the house when that was or the first drive of the second half, actually. So started NC State off on the right foot.
That's
Unfortunately, they were down 42-0, so it didn't really matter. My $2 bill actually goes to Trenton Gill. He had 5 opportunities to punt. He would have had several more if it weren't for the 4 fumbles. I mean, this guy was killing it. He averaged 52.2 yards a punt. That is absolutely outstanding. Will Spires actually had a great day punting for Clemson. He averaged over 46 yards, yards a punt, which is great for him. I think his average is usually down there closer to 40, 42, something like that. So he did a great job in the NC State game as well. So it's good to see that from him. But 52.2 is impressive. So Trenton Gill gets my $2 bill.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So let's get into the game coming up this weekend. This was one that was supposed to be 2 ranked teams versus each other, but Wake Forest just dropped the ball big time against Virginia Tech. And I didn't get a chance to watch the game, but I heard on Packer and Durham this morning that they had some Sage Surratt got injured, had a hand injury. I don't know if he's going to be available for the Clemson game, but Jamie Newman wasn't able to get the offense going. Virginia Tech seemed to find a rhythm there. And like we said earlier, Virginia Tech seems to be on that championship phase and got their eyes on that Coastal Division championship, or that division title. But Sage Surratt is the brother of Chaz Surratt, so that kind of gives him a little bit of good luck because, Chaz did really awesome against Clemson on the defense. But again, ETN, I'm looking for him to eye that ACC rushing record. And again, like Dan said, can Clemson hold the team to under 300 yards? Can they do it? Wake is averaging 487 yards or 87.3 yards per game. So to me, it's not so much can Clemson win the game, because I believe we all think that they can win the game. I mean, they're 33.5-point favorites right now. So I think that we all know Clemson's going to win the game. I don't think it's, especially it being a home game. Think about this. This is the last home game, Al, for Overton. Yep. Last home game for Wallace, Kayvon Wallace, Tremaine Akram, John Simpson, Sean Pollard. Man, thank you so much, seniors, for that. And a ton of juniors. Ton of juniors out there that might not make it back for their senior year because they're going to go to the pros. I'm thinking T. Higgins, maybe A.J. Terrell, maybe Travis Etienne. James Skalski just came out and said he's staying, so he'll be back. But then you got Isaiah Simmons. Ooh, that just hurts to say. I know. It just hurts to say, but he's a redshirt junior, and he'd be ready to leave this year after this season's over with. So got a lot of guys we got to get to say goodbye to, a lot of championship winners, some of the best seniors to ever play the game at Clemson. So we never want to forget what they did to bring this team to where they are. So thank you so much, seniors and redshirt juniors who may not be playing any more games in Death Valley after this Saturday. But Al, again, what's the question here? The question is, can they keep it under 300 yards and finish out the year strong? What do you think? They got 2 games left to keep it under 300 yards for the season per team.
Yeah, that's going to be really tough. That's a tall task. I think they can. I think they'll be able to move the ball a little bit. Wake Forest. Everybody wants to talk about how good their passing game is. I don't know if you remember this last week, but we had the conversation. I was talking about Wake Forest. Yeah, they're putting up a lot of offense, but look who they're putting it up against. I don't know if you remember this, but from last week, do you remember who the number one defense they played was? I asked you this last week, and you said Florida State, and I had to tell you it was NC State. Look,
No,
NC State.
no, it wasn't NC State, was it? It wasn't
NC State.
You told me
NC
Rice.
State. No, that's the second team.
Oh, okay,
Rice is the second best defensive team they faced. NC State was the first. I asked you the first simply so I could say Rice is the second, okay? Because that's kind of a more eye-popping stat there. But NC State was the best defense they faced, and they were in the mid-40s. I'm sure after last week they're not in the mid-40s anymore. They're probably in the 50s or 60s right now after Clemson did that to them this past weekend. So Wake Forest has faced no defense this year, none whatsoever. I just don't think they face anybody that's going to come anywhere close to the caliber of Clemson's. So is there a chance they can keep them under 300? Sure, there is. But, still, you got to give them credit for what they've done, and they have put a lot of points on the board. They have done well in the passing game for sure. So I think there's a chance that Clemson can hold them under 300. I wouldn't hold my breath, but I don't think they're going to score a lot of points. I think it's one of those things where they may get a little through the air, but I think Clemson's going to kind of, stiffen up in the red zone or kind of when they get across the 50, that kind of thing. I didn't want to be right. I didn't want to be right taking the Hokies against Wake Forest to win the game. I wanted Wake to be ranked coming into Death Valley. Everybody wanted that, wanted the big, ranked on ranked night home atmosphere. But they weren't able to take care of business. Actually, matter of fact, Virginia Tech kind of beat them pretty good. If I remember correctly, I can't remember what the final was, 30-something to 16 or 17, I think it was. Wake's passing yards were really to one player. Kendall Hinton had 8 catches for 162 yards. That's insane. That's a really good game, averaging over 20 yards a catch for sure. So they only had 29 rushing yards for the game. Okay, 29 rushing yards total. That is absolutely pathetic. I don't think. Look, I love Clemson defense as much as anybody, and their defense on rushing and passing has been good this year. But I don't think that's going to happen again this week, even though I think Clemson defense is obviously better. Than Virginia Tech's, but that's just kind of an anomaly. You don't just normally get 29 rushing yards. So I don't expect that to happen again. But, I think Lawrence just needs to continue to do what he's doing, making good decisions, hitting the open guys. They kind of use the whole field and get into his checkdowns and that kind of thing. Etienne, I'm looking for him to have another big game. I really want him to bless 2 big runs. He used to do that all the time. I'm talking about 40-yard plus runs. So I want him to break some records and get to them quick. So I look for a big game from those 2 guys again. Just like all the receivers are going to get some love too. So it's going to be a good game and a good way for the seniors to go out in the Valley. Virginia
Tech right now, but they held Wake Forest to 301 yards that game. Like you said, rushing, I believe you said 29 yards.
Yeah.
Which is, terrible. You got to think, if Virginia Tech can hold Wake Forest to 301, then you got to think there's hope there for Clemson to continue their streak. Hope. There's a lot of hope. I think that actually gives some big-time hope for Clemson. So I'm going to go ahead and answer your question, Dan. I think that based on that information that Virginia Tech just did it, the fact that Sage Surratt, I just looked it up as well, Sage has a shoulder injury, and Clausen is not disclosing it. He said he's not going to say anything until game time. So I think it's a little bit more serious than he wants to admit, or maybe he's kind of holding it close to the chest there. So their biggest playmaker as far as a wide receiver out more than likely, or at least hurt big time with his shoulder. And I wouldn't be surprised if this defense holds this team again to no more than 17 points and under 300 yards. So give me Clemson minus the points.
Sure. Yeah, and I don't necessarily disagree with much of what you said there. I think the fact that Wake Forest is a passing team, and I think that does play to Clemson's strength with Terrell and Kendrick, out there on the corner for sure. Isaiah Simmons going to be roaming all around the field. I think, Britt Venables is going to line up a good game plan, drop some linebackers into coverage, show some pressure, back out of it, kind of have some linebackers leak out into those underneath passing lanes and kind of stop some of those passes that they're used to getting. So I think Clemson's going to have a big day. I already talked about the offense. I'm taking Clemson minus 33.5 as well. My final score prediction is Clemson 62, Wake Forest 13.
We hope you enjoyed watching and listening to our show tonight. Please check us out, Facebook, YouTube, The Roar Radio on Thursday nights, and anywhere you listen to podcasts. That's it for this week. I'm Morgan Thomas.
And I'm Alan Adams.
and we'll check you out next week. Have a good week, Tiger fans. We'll see you at the top of the hill.